Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. Today, we are continuing our ongoing coverage of the civil war taking place inside the former state of Ethiopia and the Eritrean invasion of Tigray. So it looks like as we speak, the agreement that was reached in South Africa appears to be falling apart. Some folks would call it an extermination agreement. Others would call it a peace agreement. It was an agreement that would have led to the eventual disarmament of the Tigrayan Defense Forces. And obviously, with an Eritrean army occupying northern Tigray, Abiy loyalist forces in southern Tigray, the outcome of a disarmed Tigrayan Defense Forces would probably not go well for the Tigray region. Now, with what's happening in Oromia at the current time, things are continuing to unravel, and Abiy loyalist forces continue to lose control, especially in western Oromia. Now, with the current and ongoing setbacks by Abiy loyalist forces in Oromia, this is giving the Tigrayan Defense Forces the ability to reconsolidate, rebuild, coalesce, retrain, redeploy, and prepare for the possibility of further ongoing military operations against both the Eritrean army and Abiy loyalist forces. We have heard reports that Abiy loyalist forces are making contingency plans for an effort to march on Mekelle. Now, the problem right now, the biggest challenge for Abiy loyalist forces is what's happening in the south, specifically western Oromia. For all intents and purposes, much of western Oromia, as we speak, is under the control of the Oromo Liberation Army. While Abiy loyalist forces control many large towns in western Oromia, the ability to get from point A to point B in between those towns is very, very difficult for Abiy loyalist forces. They're at high risk. Abiy loyalist forces are at very high risk of ambush when moving between towns, such as Ambo and Mekelle. Transportation and the ability of these forces to move has been greatly hindered by the Oromo Liberation Army. Compounding that is the control of many towns in western Oromia by the Oromo Liberation Army. And the Oromo Liberation Army continues to grow day by day, week by week. Whereas what we're seeing in terms of Abiy loyalist forces, especially those of the Oromia regional forces, are really proving not to be very motivated in terms of engaging their brethren in the OLA. That is why we're starting to see Amharan regional forces, Amharan paramilitary forces being redeployed from the Amhara region south to engage the OLA. At the same time, even Abiy loyalist forces of the regular former ENDF, Ethiopian National Defense Forces, are proving to be incapable of marching into western Oromia and regaining control of many of these areas that the OLA has now taken control over. And given that situation that we're seeing in western Oromia and other parts of Oromia, indeed it is opening things up for the Tigrayan Defense Forces in case further military operations are needed. And again, given that the social contract has been broken, and has been broken for a long time, between the Abiy loyalist government and Mekelle, again, the likely outcome continues to gravitate towards complete autonomy and or separation of the Tigray region from the Abiy loyalist government proper. And in all probability, I would say the way things continue to fracture inside of the former state of Ethiopia, the likelihood of Abiy Ahmed remaining in power under the current circumstances of what is currently happening within the country, again, is very problematic at best. There's now reports that indicate that well over 800,000 people have died since Abiy Ahmed and Isaias Afwerki had started the civil war inside what is now the former state of Ethiopia. 800,000. In retrospect, if we look at Ukraine, for instance, by some estimates, 100,000 casualties on the Ukrainian side, 100,000 casualties on the Russian side, for a total of approximately 200 to 250,000 total casualties when you include civilian losses. In the ongoing civil war in the former state of Ethiopia, 800,000 casualties. So as you compare and contrast the conflicts around the world, what is happening right now inside of the former state of Ethiopia greatly outpaces any other conflict on the planet at the current time. But we're watching things very, very closely in the Tigray region. It does appear things are unraveling, and in all likelihood, what I would call a temporary ceasefire will ultimately end with renewed hostilities taking place, unfortunately. Now the question is, has the Tigrayan Defense Forces made adjustments to their military strategy? What will be the next goal of the Tigrayan Defense Forces? Will it be the eviction of the Eritrean forces in the north, followed by a military campaign south? We don't know at this moment. Difficult to say. I think at this point, the TDF, the Tigrayan Defense Forces, are probably not looking at regaining Western Tigray. I think at this point, other military objectives may be in the planning. Now, whether that's to the north, to the south, difficult to say. But it does appear, as we speak, in all probability, this agreement, this so-called agreement, again, offered temporary respite to a very battle-worn force, to both forces essentially. But again, it does look like, as we speak, that things are going to go back to ongoing military hostilities. So we'll keep an eye on the ground. We will absolutely report when we get information, but again, as we speak, it looks like things are unraveling, and in all likelihood, renewed hostilities will take place, especially if we see some sort of drive by the Abiy loyalist forces with the goal of marching into Mekelle. The TDF still has very strong positions south of Mekelle, incredibly strong defensive lines in the area near Mahoney, just north of Korem. Eritrean army units continue to be somewhat surrounded near Adwa, and the TDF is still present near Shire, and then obviously the Tenbian region is under the complete control of the Tigrayan Defense Forces. So all areas in green are under the control of the TDF. Now, we have reports that some Eritrean army units have pulled out of northern Tigray. That is difficult to ascertain at the moment, but that is what is being reported. So we'll have more to come very, very soon. Thank you for joining us today, and as always, have a good day.